Sonic Racing Crossworlds is going to be the most ambitious Sonic Racing title that we've ever seen, and I can say that because this is already the most amount of characters we've had in a Sonic Racing game before, and the most different type of racing that we've seen from this franchise. The game is accommodating those who like Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed and that mechanic returning, and also Sonic Riders fans with the Extreme Gears coming back. Now, I don't know if from a gameplay perspective it'll really be that different, considering the fact that it could just be a car reskinned to look like an Extreme Gear, as opposed to it actually playing just like Sonic Riders. But either way, the game itself actually does look to be really fun. I remember playing the beta a couple months ago on the PS5, and I had a lot of fun with that, and I feel like a lot has changed since then. So with that being said, I'm much more optimistic about this game than I ever was before. And the fact that they have all these collaboration characters coming in is really cool to me too, like SpongeBob in a Sonic Racing game. I never thought that was going to happen. And what I really like is that even with the inclusion of these odd characters like Hatsune Miku, for example, the game actually still feels and looks like a Sonic the Hedgehog title with just additional characters, as opposed to just being this, collective collaboration racing title, which I don't think I would have liked very much. But having said all of that, even in spite of how I feel about this game, I feel like it's very weird, and I don't mean that in a good or bad way, I mean it in a kind of neutral way. You see, what I'm saying is, this game to me feels like the epitome of the monkey's paw. Now, for those of you who don't know what the monkey's paw is or means, Google defines it as an idiom to describe situations where a wish is granted but with unforeseen and often negative outcomes. Let's walk through an example of what this really means. Let's say someone asks for the ability to fly. Their wish is granted, congratulations, this person is able to fly now. However, instead of flying in some sort of cool way by sprouting wings or being able to just jump in the air and fly like Superman, they have to fart in order to fly, and fart to stay in the air. The wish still got granted, you are able to fly, but not in the way that you would have thought you could. This is an example of the monkey's paw, and kind of an example of just irony altogether. You get what you want, but not really the way you wanted it. To me, Sonic Racing Crossworlds feels to be that kind of game. I get kind of everything I want out of a Sonic Racing game, but not really the way I would have wanted it to happen. I think one of the prime examples that I can list for Sonic Racing Crossworlds is just the addition of these extra characters, the non-Sonic characters, the characters that are, collaborated characters or characters that are coming from Sega, like Joker. Now, these characters, while it's really cool to have them there, have reportedly no audio. They don't make any noises whatsoever. Now, I'm sure it's a licensing thing and there's some sort of financial property piece to it that Sega couldn't get the rights to use Tom Kenny as SpongeBob, for example, but even still, it's just kind of weird to me because it's like, you have a character like SpongeBob or Patrick in these games and they just don't say anything. Now, a couple years ago, the game Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl ran into the same issue, where it had all of these Nickelodeon characters in this fighting game that was like Smash Bros, and none of them said anything. All of these cartoon characters together in one game, and not speaking anything. Now, this is an issue that would be readdressed in the sequel, where they actually would have voice acting, but even still, it's just kind of weird and jarring. And I feel like the same thing is happening here with Crossworlds with SpongeBob, for example, where it's just like, why isn't he saying anything? And I'm not actually that upset about this whole thing. I really do hope that at some point they update this, maybe in like a patch or something in the future where SpongeBob actually is speaking. But then you have other characters that Sega actually kind of owns, like Hatsune Miku, Joker, and Ichiban. And the three of them reportedly don't say anything either. And that's weird to me because it's like, these are in-house characters. You can have them interact. I would wait longer for the launch of these characters if you can give them interactions. So to me, it's just like a weird decision to put them in, but not go all the way in. Now, something I want to talk about is the actual price of the game. This, to me, is yet another monkey's paw against Sonic Racing Crossworlds, just because it is the highest priced Sonic game ever. I wasn't going to talk about this in the video just because I felt like there was way too much discourse surrounding it and way too many people already talking about it that I didn't really think I needed to talk about it, but I'm going to because it adds just to the monkey paw conversation to make me think that this game is just weird. Because the mainline Sonic titles only ever got as high as $60, with Frontiers being $70 for the digital deluxe version. So even then, if you didn't want that, it would still only be $60. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is a spin-off title. If you want all of the content that this game has to offer, it's going to cost you $90. Yes, you are going to get some post-launch content, but even still, $90 for everything else this game has to offer. Now there are two ways to look at this, and I think both ways are correct. Firstly, the fact that they're charging this much means that they are confident about the game. The second way to look at this is, just out of curiosity, how much are Sonic games going to cost going forward? Because this jump that we've seen in the franchise in terms of the price is kind of out of left field. Will Sonic games be standard $70 going forward? Who can really say? I have no idea. Something to consider though is that Sonic games do often go on sale. I think I just saw Frontiers for $17 the other day. So even then, if you don't get it at launch, you can probably get it maybe a month or so later at maybe $40 or $50. So in the end of the day, you probably will save money just by waiting it out, but even still, to start off this high is just kind of wild. Just to be clear, the wish and monkey's paw in this case is that we get ourselves an actual ambitious Sonic Racing title, but the monkey's paw here is that it might be a little overpriced. Now this next point that I want to make is really just my own opinion, and the opinion I've seen of other people online, but I'm not actually a huge fan of the opening. I think the visuals are really cool and pretty impressive, but the song itself, I don't know, it just kind of feels a little weak. It definitely does feel like it's in line with the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, I won't lie about that, but I just feel like they could have did better with this. I mean, when I look back at even some of the other Sonic Racing titles, just those exclusively, I'm not even compare this song to the mainline titles, but if we just look at those, they're just much better. Like, for example, Super Sonic Racing from Sonic R, and even Team Sonic Racing's Greenlight Ride, I think are just terrific songs and really set the tone for the game. But this opening kind of feels like something you might see in a 4Kids opening. Not to say that Sonic X's opening was bad, but it's not something I would turn on as opposed to hearing, you know, any other Sonic song. But even then, if you're not convinced by my thoughts on the actual opening song for the game, there are just weird lines in here. Like, for example, they talk about stealing souls. Yeah, they don't do any of that in this game. It's a racing title. Why are we talking about souls? There are a few other monkey paw moments that I think I could have mentioned in this video, like for example the graphics not being entirely up to par, but I'm going on a limb here and hoping that they're just kind of like unfinished in the trailer but will be finished by the time the game actually releases. Which I think is honestly a pretty safe bet. Nonetheless, the game itself seems to be pulling in some positive reviews and even winning one of the Best of Summer Game Fest awards. That being said, I still feel optimistic despite all of the weird little monkey paws I picked out in this video. I mean, if we're being totally honest here, most of the issues that I mentioned throughout this video are just kind of quality of life issues. They don't really hurt the gameplay nor performance of the actual game, but more so just make me wish, man, I wish this was different. That being said, what do you think about Sonic Racing Crossworlds? Are you optimistic for it? Are you negative about it? I want to hear all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe on it as it'll really help me and my channel out a ton. But anyway, this is your boy SONICSTA signing out. Have a super blessed day, y'all.
Why are you playing that trash?